Here's something nobody tells you when you walk into a beautifully decorated home and see those stunning plants in the corner. Most of them are not hard to grow. People look at a monstera with those dramatic split leaves, or a tall snake plant in a minimalist pot, or a glossy rubber plant catching the afternoon light, and they assume the owner has some kind of expertise. Some secret knowledge. Some strict daily routine. They don't. These plants look like designer decor. They photograph like something from a luxury hotel lobby. But the truth is, most of them behave like beginner-level plants. They forgive missed waterings. They survive average lighting. They ask for very little. The problem isn't the plants. The problem is people keep choosing the wrong ones and calling plant care difficult. These 12 completely break that idea. Luxury look. Zero drama. And stay until the end, because plant number 7 and number 11 will completely change how you think about indoor plants. Most people skip them, and that's exactly why their homes never get that expensive plant look. If you enjoy content like this, like the video, subscribe to Pure Root Home, and turn on notifications, because I break down plants in a way that actually helps you build a better-looking home, not just collect names. And now let's start with the first one. Group 1. Luxury leaf plants in which. Plant number 1. Monstera Deliciosa. Before I knew anything about Monstera, I assumed it was a specialist plant. The kind of thing you'd see in an architect's studio or a high-end cafe, dramatic, tropical, clearly requiring expertise. Then I bought one and discovered it's one of the most forgiving large plants I've ever owned. The leaves are the reason people love it. Those deep green, split and perforated panels that look like they were cut by hand. As the plant matures, each new leaf comes in slightly more complex than the last. More splits, more fenestrations, more presence. The plant literally gets more beautiful over time without you doing much to cause it. I placed mine in a bright corner with indirect light and watered it when the top 2 inches of soil were dry. That was the entire routine. Within 3 months it had produced 4 new leaves and grown to a height where it genuinely anchored the room. This is the plant you see in luxury hotels and think, I could never. You absolutely could. The next one goes even further. It looks so perfect that most people assume it's artificial. Plant number 2. ZZ plant. I've had guests touch my ZZ plant to check if it's real. The leaves are that perfect. Deep, uniform green. Glossy surface that catches light and holds it. Paired symmetrically along arching stems in a way that looks almost engineered. If someone designed a fake plant to look convincingly expensive, it would look like a ZZ plant. But here's the contrast that makes this plant remarkable. It is one of the toughest, most neglect-resistant plants you can own. It stores water in underground rhizomes. It tolerates low light that would stress most plants. I've gone 4 weeks without watering mine and come back to find it looking exactly as it did when I left. The combination, premium visual quality plus genuine indestructibility, is almost unfair. It looks like it demands attention. It demands almost nothing. For a styled, contemporary interior, ZZ plant in a quality pot is one of the best investments you can make. But the next one adds a completely different dimension, sheer size and boldness at minimal effort. Plant number 3. Rubber plant. The rubber plant has a quality that most plants don't. It looks expensive at every stage of its life. As a small plant, it's architectural and compact, those broad waxy leaves making a statement even in a 6-inch pot. As it matures and grows taller, it becomes the kind of floor plant that designers specify by name, the deep burgundy variety especially, with those almost black-green leaves that read as genuinely luxurious against neutral walls. I've kept mine in the same corner for over 2 years. Bright indirect light, watering every 10 to 14 days. A wipe of the leaves once a month to keep that glossy surface clean. That's genuinely the full routine. What I noticed is that the rubber plant rewards consistency above everything. It doesn't want to be moved. It doesn't want dramatic changes. Find its spot, establish its watering rhythm, and leave it completely alone to become what it's capable of becoming. The next group takes a different angle, plants that interior designers reach for first. Group 2, Designer Aesthetic Plants. Plant number 4. Fiddle Leaf Fig. I owe this plant an apology, because after my first disastrous experience, the one I mentioned earlier, the 8 dropped leaves and the expensive stick, I avoided fiddle leaf figs for almost 2 years. I was convinced they were impossible. What I eventually learned was that I'd made 3 specific mistakes. I'd placed it near a heating vent. I'd moved it twice in the first month trying to find the right spot. And I'd watered on a schedule rather than checking the soil. Fiddle leaf figs fail for specific, understandable reasons. Fix those reasons and the plant is genuinely manageable. Bright indirect light. Stable position. Never moved once placed. Water only when the top inch is dry. No heating vents. No cold drafts. No rotation. My second fiddle leaf fig has been in the same corner for 18 months. It's produced 11 new leaves. That corner looks like a design decision. The plant isn't easy in the way ZZ plant is easy, but it's easier than its reputation suggests, once you understand what it actually needs. The next one is even more visually striking, and it has a personality all of its own. Plant number 5. Calathea. Calathea is the plant I describe as a living piece of art, and I don't mean that as a cliché. The leaf patterns are genuinely extraordinary. Brush strokes of silver and cream across deep green, that dark burgundy underside that flashes when a leaf moves. No 2 leaves with quite the same pattern. I've had mine for 2 years and I still notice something new in the leaves occasionally. And yes, Calathea has a reputation for being demanding. It does prefer higher humidity than most plants. It does react to fluoride in tap water. It does fold its leaves when something isn't quite right. But here's how I think about that. Calathea communicates. Rather than silently deteriorating the way some plants do, it tells you when it's unhappy. Folded leaves at night is normal. Brown edges usually mean the air is too dry or the water has too many minerals. Switch to filtered water. Add a pebble tray with water beneath the pot for humidity. Those 2 adjustments solve most Calathea problems. The visual reward for understanding it is extraordinary. A healthy Calathea looks hand-painted. Nothing in a room competes with it. The next one needs none of that attention, but delivers a similar level of visual quality. Plant number 6. Dracaena. Dracaena is the plant that makes a room look like someone thought about it. The slender, arching leaves. The clean vertical lines. The way it occupies a corner without overwhelming it. There's a minimalist elegance to Dracaena that photographs beautifully and reads even better in person. The kind of plant that looks at home in a carefully considered interior, and then you discover how it actually behaves. It tolerates low light that would shut down most plants. It needs watering every 10 to 14 days at most. It handles the dry air of central heating without complaint. I've left mine for 5 weeks during an extended trip, and the only evidence was 2 dried lower leaves that I removed in seconds. What I've noticed over time is that Dracaena improves with age in a specific way. The lower leaves gradually drop as new ones grow at the top, creating an increasingly elegant, tree-like silhouette. Group 3. Hidden Luxury Plants. Underrated but stunning. Plant number 7. Pothose Marble Queen. Standard pothose is beautiful. Marble Queen is something else. The variegation on Marble Queen, cream and white swirled through the green, different on every single leaf, gives it a collected, rare quality that standard houseplants don't have. It looks like something you'd find in a specialist plant shop and pay significantly more for than you actually need to. I have mine trailing from a high shelf in the living room. The vines extend downward in long, loosely hanging trails, each leaf slightly different from the last. In the evening when the lamp is on, the cream sections in the leaves catch the warmth of the light. The care is identical to regular pothose, which is to say, barely any. Water when the top inch is dry. Trim occasionally to keep it from getting too long. Root the trimmings in water and you'll have more plants than you know what to do with. It grows more slowly than golden pothos because of the high variegation, but that slower growth means less maintenance, and the visual result is more refined. The next plant adds color to the equation, and it's more approachable than most people think. Plant number 8, Anthurium. Anthurium is the plant that makes people ask where you bought your decorations. That glossy, lacquered spathe, the modified leaf that surrounds the actual flower, in deep red or coral or white reads as almost artificial. The surface is that smooth, that reflective. Against a light wall it looks like a piece of sculpture. Against a dark surface it glows. The assumption most people make is that a plant that looks this refined must be demanding. It isn't. Anthurium needs bright indirect light and watering about once a week. It blooms for months, individual spathes lasting 4 to 6 weeks each, with new ones emerging consistently throughout the year. I've had mine for 2 years and it has never fully stopped flowering. The trick with Anthurium is drainage. It will not tolerate wet roots. A well-draining mix and a pot with good drainage holes is the main requirement. Get that right and almost everything else takes care of itself. The next one looks quiet at first, but look closer and the detail is extraordinary. Plant number 9, Chinese Evergreen. Chinese Evergreen has what I'd call quiet luxury. It doesn't announce itself the way Monstera or Anthurium does. But look at it closely, really look, and the leaf patterns are genuinely beautiful. Silver gray brushed over deep green, pink veining through cream and pale green in some varieties. The kind of detail that rewards attention in a way that bold, dramatic plants don't always offer. I placed mine in a corner that gets almost no natural light, the kind of forgotten spot where other plants had failed. It settled in without complaint and has been there ever since. New leaves push up from the center every few weeks, each one bringing a slight variation on the pattern of the last. What I've noticed about Chinese Evergreen in dark corners specifically is that it changes the quality of those spaces. A dim corner with an aglaonema in it doesn't feel dim anymore. It feels like the dimness was chosen. Tolerate almost any light condition. Water when the top inch is dry. The last group takes this further. Plants that bring the feel of hotel lobbies and luxury spaces into an ordinary home. Group 4. Soft statement plants. Plant number 10. Peace Lily. Peace Lily belongs in this category for one specific reason. It blooms indoors. Most plants that look this elegant require some kind of specialist knowledge or ideal conditions to produce flowers. Peace Lily does it in low light, in an ordinary room, with minimal intervention. Those white spathes rising above the dark green leaves have an elegance that no amount of foliage alone quite replicates. What I love most about Peace Lily is what I mentioned earlier. It communicates. When it needs water, the leaves droop gently, clearly, and then stand back up within hours of being watered. That feedback loop removes almost all of the guesswork from caring for it. For rooms that don't get much natural light, north-facing bedrooms, hallways, home offices without windows, Peace Lily is the answer. It brings sophistication to exactly the spaces that need it most. The next plant brings a completely different kind of presence, architectural, sculptural, unmistakably deliberate. Plant number 11. Snake plant. Snake plant is what I recommend when someone wants one plant that does everything. It looks intentional. Those upright, sword-like leaves in deep green with silver gray banding, or in the golden variety, edged in pale yellow, have a sculptural quality that works in almost any interior style. Minimalist homes, warm, layered rooms, modern apartments, traditional spaces. Snake plant reads as considered wherever it goes, and it survives pure neglect in a way that almost no other plant manages while still looking good. I watered mine once a month through winter and it didn't change. I left for 6 weeks once and found it completely unchanged on my return. The biology is working in our favor. Those thick leaves store water efficiently and the SIM photosynthesis means it loses almost none through respiration. Put it in a quality pot that fits the room. Find a spot with any light at all. Water monthly. Done. And the final plant brings the warmth of a luxury resort into a corner of your home. Plant number 12. Erica Palm. The moment I placed my Erica palm in the living room corner, something about the room changed. Not dramatically, not all at once, but the feathery, arching fronds, that light, layered quality that larger palms have, brought a warmth and a softness to the space that no other plant had managed in that corner. It felt like a resort lobby. Not in a pretentious way, in the way that certain spaces feel considered and alive. People assume palms are difficult indoors. Most are. Erica palm is the exception, the one indoor palm that actually adapts to home conditions with reasonable grace. It wants bright indirect light and consistent moisture during the growing season. It drops the occasional lower frond which you remove cleanly and it continues. The growth is slow enough to be manageable and steady enough to be satisfying. What it gives back, that particular quality of filtered light through feathery fronds, that sense of tropical ease, is worth more than the minimal care it asks for. You walk into a beautifully planted space and feel something. A quality of aliveness. A sense that someone made choices about this room and those choices included living things. You don't have to analyze why it feels good. It just does. That feeling is available to you. Not through expertise or dedication or a complicated care routine. Through choosing the right 12 plants and leaving them somewhere good. Start with one. Watch what it does to a corner. Then you'll understand exactly what I mean. So, which one from this list are you putting in your space first? The Monstera for that dramatic corner? The ZZ plant for the shelf that needs something polished? Or maybe the Erica palm for that room that's always felt a little flat? Drop it in the comments. I read every one. And here's what's coming next. Because this list was about plants that look expensive. The next video is about plants that survive complete neglect. Not low maintenance. Not easy care. Actual, genuine neglect. Weeks without water, forgotten corners, the kind of real life most of us are actually living. Because knowing which plants look good is one thing. Knowing which plants stay alive no matter what you do, or don't do, is something else entirely. That's next. Subscribe so you don't miss it. See you there.